Hi, everybody. It's me, Sam Wilkinson, from the Office of Instructional Technology. And in today's vodcast, we're going to talk about AACPS's application called Wixie. We're going to start off from our class link page, and you're going to want to find the application called Wixie. You can also search for Wixie in the search bar at the top of your screen. Wixie is an online creativity tool for digital project work. It's available to all students and staff, grade pre-K through 12, and allows students to share knowledge, ideas, and imagination through a combination of text, art, voice, and video. It includes an extensive image library and also allows for students to work in teams. Today, we're going to talk about Wixie's new button, which will appear at the top of your application when you open it. If you've never used Wixie before, this opens up to your project page, which is everything you've been working on. The new button in Wixie has changed a little bit this year, and I want to tell you about everything that is available here. Let's begin with landscape and portrait. Obviously, this is going to tell you about the orientation of your page. In both portrait and landscape, it will bring students and teachers to a blank workspace area with all of the tools along the top of your toolbar and on the right of your screen. You can see that some of the tools available include paintbrushes, spray cans, shapes, and many other options, including voice narration. Along the top of our toolbar, this will allow students to add text boxes, images from the library or their device, and will even allow them to access their camera to take pictures of themselves. There's also the option for students to record themselves on video. A blank page is awesome for exit tickets, journal responses, and on the fly assignments that students might do in a notebook or journal. Think about if you're have them solve a math problem, having them use some of these tools right here, or using some of the images as manipulatives to show their work. You could also have them record a response to a question in a video. You can have them illustrate and describe a setting in a book you're reading. The possibilities are really endless. The next option under the new button is the photo option. And as you can see, it will access the student's webcam. You can take a picture of themselves or yourself. You could have them take a picture of an assignment they're working on, or even take a picture of things around the school. Either way, once you take a picture, it's going to create that as the background of your Wixie project. From here, you can have students add text boxes, speech bubbles. You could even have them take a picture of their math work and illustrate over top of it or type how they solved the problem. This can be a really fun way to get students engaged in what you're doing in the classroom. During the science experiment, they could take pictures of the steps. And when it's the background of a Wixie project, it's not able to be erased. One of my favorite features under the new button is this fourth option here called Book. And if you haven't explored these yet, you really should. Book is where Wixie has created some pre-made templates for your students to use to create digital projects. And as you can see, there are a ton of them. Some of my favorites are subject specific, and then there are other that are more generic. So the science lab book, for example, is going to allow students to document a science lab that they're working on. You will see that when the project is finished and they go to the show button here at the top, it becomes a book format where the students can flip through pages and show the experiment and the results of how that went. There are tons of other book options that are really fun and that are generic for any subject. I love for the beginning of the year the corkboard All About Me. This requires virtually no work on the part of the teacher, but it results in a really great project that students can share with each other. Imagine in a classroom that each student fills one of these out in the first week of school, and then there's a virtual gallery walk where kids can walk around and flip through their books digitally. Another one of my favorites here is the scrapbook, and this can be a great end of a unit culminating activity where all along students have been collecting artifacts and information that they then put together in a scrapbook that shows their learning. Students can also do this at home. to show interesting activities and trips that they go on. It's pre-formatted so that they can then just input their videos, text, and images. A really fun way to get students engaged in learning and creating digital products without having to do a lot of the backdrops themselves. Another thing I really love about books is that it can include narration. So it really brings the story to life and gives students a chance to practice fluency. So this book happens to be a comic book template. Imagine that they are using images from the library or even drawing their own and creating a really great story. Then they can go over here to the audio button and they can record sounds or their voice. They can even read a story they've written in their journal to give that inflection through dialogue. Really fun activity. When people record in Wixie, it just comes up as an audio file. So here I am talking. When I'm finished, I'm going to stop that recording. I can listen to it or decide to keep it. If I do decide to keep it, you see it comes up as a play button on the page. When I'm flipping through the book, I also see that there's the audio button on each page so that I can click it and I can hear the story in its entirety. A really great keepsake for students to record their work throughout the year. I don't think that there's a teacher out there who doesn't use some type of graphic organizer in their class at some point. And Wixie under the new button has pre-templated organizers for you and students to access at any time. So imagine coming into class and instead of students getting out a journal, they open up their Chromebook and you start a circle map. And together you're coming up with brainstorming ideas. You can see that there's tons of options. I love the cause and effect chart. There's the AEIOU, which can be used for just about any subject. Students coming up with adjectives, emotions, etc. This would make an excellent on the fly exit ticket or culminating activity after a project in class. Some of the other graphic organizers that I really like are the ones that are some of our thinking routines. I notice, I wonder, what if? I see, I think, I wonder. There are even some that reflect the depth and complexity questions. A great one to use for arts integration is called color symbol image. I love that this incorporates some higher level thinking skills and it can be used for virtually any subject or academic area. Again, students have all of the tools accessible to draw, type, take images, or video of themselves, or even just record their voice, making it a really good option for differentiation and student choice. Coming back to the new button, the last icon at the top is the upload option. Uploading is going to allow you to access files on your computer that will then become the background of your Wixie project. So if students have something saved on their Chromebooks, or if you as the teacher have an activity you want them to complete, you can upload that here. Wixie will allow you to upload images, such as this one of the Super Bowl, and it will make it so that students cannot edit that background. This is a great option if you have an image that is specific to your content and maybe you want them doing some sort of labeling for a diagram for science, for example, or the images that you're looking for are not available in the library. This is also a really great open-ended project for students to be able to put their own imagination into the assignment and is kind of a cool idea for an early finisher. It could be I see, I think, I wonder. Maybe they're practicing dialogue and they're adding in pictures of people or animals, and they are going to go ahead and also add some text to kind of explain why they included that. The other thing that you can do with the upload button, which is really awesome, is you can take any existing PDF from the curriculum or one that you already have saved, and you can create it as the background for your students to work on in a digital version. So, this comes right from one of our curriculums. It's a cardboard engineering project. It's many pages, but the students are to complete this over the period of several days. You'll see that it imports those PDFs as images as the background of your Wixie project. Now, some of these first pages that are for just the teacher, I may want to delete before I assign this to my students. And maybe I'm only giving them the part that I want them to work on. So, once again, using Wixie will allow your students to really be able to express themselves and use a variety of media to express their ideas. So, here they could type in who's in their group. A drawing of their project can be as simple as them using their finger in a touch screen and creating what they have in mind using labels or text boxes. They could even use narration again to speak on each of these sections if writing is a challenge. Suddenly, that project that was a daunting packet now seems a little more accessible and gives students a lot more choice in how they attack those projects. I love the idea of having them use images instead of writing the words. Not only does that make it more interesting, but it also allows them to get different ideas from the image gallery. Now that we've hit all the main icons at the top of the new button, I want to talk about these three options at the bottom. Assignment will basically create a new page in your assignment folder and will allow you to automatically assign it to students without going through the extra steps of going through your My Projects page. It also, as you can see, will lead you to all the projects that you have in your Wixie account that you can assign right here from the fly. So let's say you don't want to create, you've already created something, for example, this choice board. I can then select that item and assign it to my students right from here. I can also use a blank project. So maybe I want them to work on something in class, but I want to give them that blank canvas. Either way, by selecting a blank project or an existing project, it's going to take me to my assignment page. And you can see I have some options on when I want that assignment to be released and when I want it ended. I also have the choice over here to assign it to different classes if I have different class periods. And I can select all students or just certain students to get the project. When I'm finished, I'll click Save, and it will then appear in my students' Wixie accounts for them to work on. The second option at the bottom is the assessment tool. Wixie is allowing you to create rubrics right within the application. It also has some pre-made rubrics that are attached to templated projects. You can see in this rubric maker that there are areas to add columns, delete those columns, and to add rows of criteria. You can change the title of each of these column names to point values or to other words. Wixie also has a drop-down of some commonly used rubric items, such as oral presentation, where you can choose a subtopic, for example, staying on topic, and it will give you some preloaded criteria for each of those point values. These are editable so that you can change them based on your project, or you can create your own criteria as well. What's nice about this is that you have the option to print this and it will come up like a regular rubric. You can attach it to your Wixie projects. And if you have used the checklist option underneath of each of your rubric criteria, it will develop a checklist for your students to be able to check off and make sure that they have all of those items. You can change the level of your rubric right here. So if we're working at a high school level, those may change some of the criteria and the descriptors. Here's one for artistic expression for our cultural arts people. You also have rubric options here. Really great for you to be able to assess your students in their Wixie projects. Once you have created the assessment under the New button, it will also show up for you on your left-hand toolbar under My Assessments, and each of them will be logged here. You can use the three dots to view that rubric. You can also use those dots to link it to a project that you want your students to work on, meaning you only have to put the rubric in one time. Final option under our New button is Folder. Folder helps us to keep our projects organized on our main landing page. I'm going to call this one Test, and you'll see that it adds that folder up here at the top. I can then move projects using the three dots to that folder. I'm sure you can imagine having folders keeps this organized and allows your students to keep their materials organized as well. So there you have it. Those are the essentials of the New button. I hope that you give Wixie a try with your students. And if you're a veteran user, I hope you've discovered something new in this vodcast. For more information on Wixie, please visit our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page from class link. From this page, go to Application Support and scroll down to Wixie, where you will find video tutorials and printable directions for almost everything that we've covered today and more. I want to draw your attention to the last entry here, No Prep Wixie Activities, which will give you dozens of ideas on how to get started using that New button. Thanks so much for listening and happy creating.